Happy May, Leominsterites. Welcome back to another episode of Representing Leominster, and I'm excited to have two really strong women that are representing our community. Isabella Lara, who is a new school committee member representing Ward 3, and Kathleen Reynolds-Degnall, our Register of Deeds for the Worcester Northern District. So we're here to kick it off with Isabel.
Thank you for having me.
And how are classes going? You're just about wrapping up at Worcester State, right?
Just finished sophomore year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How'd it go?
It went really well. I'm glad it's over.
And what are you studying?
History is my major, and then political science and secondary ed are my minors.
Awesome, awesome. So, brand new school committee member.
Yes.
Excited to have your voice on the school committee. What inspired you to run?
Well, last year or so, when the whole entire budget fiasco really started to occur in Leominster, people began coming to the school committee meetings, and I was one of them, and I had just graduated a year before, so I knew with all the cuts and all of the teachers leaving and everything that the students wouldn't be able to have is something I wouldn't have been able to have my senior year. So I was really adamant to make sure that the students got an equal education, make sure that they got everything that they were supposed to, everything they wanted, especially the seniors, because it was their senior year, and to not have a club or to not have a teacher would have been really, really terrible. And also with the teachers being cut, my mom was one of them at Francis Drake, so that was really, really hard on my family and our situation. Luckily, she got asked back last minute in the time frame, but the mix of being a student and knowing what it would be like for them, and also my family was really pushing me to do something and change something.
Yeah, so often it's the personal piece, and you and I have talked about how proud I am to be a product of the Leominster Public School System and to be the first in my family to go to college. I had such a great launching pad, and that's one of the reasons we talk a lot about school funding and how does that work, and how have we fallen super far behind. Our school funding formula is older than you are.
It is. It is.
So something that I am really excited about collaborating with the school committee to bring these stories and how the school funding formula is failing the Leominster Public School students and community.
Absolutely.
And bring these real stories about why we need so much more of an investment in our public schools.
It's great to have you as an ally, because you have all of the information and you're able to deliver it to all of us. We're not really savvy when it comes to that language, but it's really great when you're able to discuss it with us and we know what's going on and how we need to change and move forward and fix things there. So it's really great to have you.
Yeah, and one of those pieces that we talk about on the Representing Leominster show, and why I have all of our local electeds come on, is to really break down those barriers and make it clear that we're just normal elected folks who have like some really cool jobs and roles in our community. We're just a neighbor, someone who cares passionately about our community, but are crazy enough to put our names on the ballot.
Out there, yes, absolutely.
And one of the things that I try to ask everyone is like, what are some tips and tricks that you might be able to share to folks watching about how you could be a better advocate when it comes to either school issues or just generally something happening on the local level, the state level, the federal level? You're studying it right now.
I am.
So do you have any ideas on how folks are getting involved or should get involved?
I think folks should get involved by either going to the meetings, watching it, just being informed is really helpful in terms of the issues. It would be great if they have a concern to voice it at the meetings, because we really do listen. I take notes with every constituent that comes forward with us on what they say, their issues.
And so there's a public comment.
There is a public forum comment at the beginning of every meeting.
Okay.
And so all of us, I believe, really do try to listen to all of them, make sure that we're reaching out to them afterwards, or if we can't fix it in that meeting, figure out a way to make their voices represented. And so it's really important for them to get involved, to reach out to their ward members, their city members, and just make their voices heard on their issues, because those issues affect their children. It affects them, it affects their lives. So if they have a problem, to really reach out to us directly would be the best.
Awesome. And do you think, so you're the youngest guest, I think I can confidently say, on our show. And do you have What was your experience like? Do you think your experience was different because of your age? Do you think that there were some benefits or hurdles that you faced
I think
for other young people who might be thinking about running for office?
When I was campaigning, it was definitely a hurdle because they thought I was campaigning for someone else or I was trying to sell them something. And I wasn't, well, I was trying to sell myself, I guess. Yeah, that was a hurdle. But when I explained that I can relate so much to their children or their grandchildren because I was just there, I think that really struck a chord with them, and they really took it to heart, and they were like, oh, she really does know what it's like to be in that school. My grandchildren are in that school right now. She was just there. So they really did end up saying that it's great to have someone of similar age group as their children or grandchildren's voices representing them on the committee, that was really nice to hear.
Yeah, and I hate to tell you, it doesn't get any easier. I'm a decade older than you are, and when people walk into the room, they go, where's the rep?
Right.
And I'm like, right here. I'm the rep. So it helps.
Yeah.
I maybe strategically hired Taylor because she's younger than I am. So when we go together, it's a little easier to assume that I might be the rep, but they think we're just a pair of staffers.
Yeah, your sidekick. Everyone loves you too.
Yeah, yeah. So what else are you working on? Are you working on anything else in the community? Is there anything you're excited coming up for the summer that you're involved with?
I just judged the United Way Youth Venture. And they said that you were a part of it when you were in school, and it was fabulous. Like, I loved it. I couldn't wait to go back. Like, I've already given them all of my information. The projects are so fantastic. I literally just judged yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind. It was fantastic. The one I judged was Pause for Love. But yeah, I'm really excited to do more campaigning in the summer for other people, and it's really great because we're going to be going into budget season for the school committee. So I will be dealing with more and more constituents because they're going to be very concerned and looking to make sure that no staff are being cut or no programs are being cut. And we just voted on it. And so hopefully none of those problems will arise this time.
So we're also going to make sure that your contact information goes up on the screen. So for residents of Ward 3, if they're interested in getting in touch with you, your email and your cell phone are going to be up there.
Great.
But are there other things coming up? What are you hoping to hear from constituents about? And how is it the personal stories that move you? Data?
Yes.
Like what is helpful for you?
I think when they, especially campaigning the first time around, when they were telling me that like their children weren't going to the bathroom because they were so unsanitary and they were holding it until they got home and things like that. It was like, we need the custodial staff back. There's kids that aren't going to the bathroom when they have to go to the bathroom.
Right.
And it's just things like that. When they tell me things about their children in school, it really resonates with me, and I want to fix those things. But on the other hand, I really hope that the constituents appreciate all of the work that was put into the budget, because I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud to have voted for it, because I think it's great not having staff cuts, not having things like that that are detrimental to the students. And so the finance subcommittee really worked hard, and Superintendent Deacon's staff and herself worked really hard on it. So it was really nice to present that to the community.
And we're continuing to work together to try to figure out, we're like right in the middle of our budget process. Can we get some extra money going? And I know that there's going to be increases for the fact that Leominster took in a lot of Puerto Rican families and students, and there's some serious costs with that. And the first appropriation was $5,000 a school district, and that didn't even cover the additional costs.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the foundation formula, and maybe like snapshots in time more than once a year, because for folks who don't realize this, the schools are kind of have this cutoff date on October 1st, depending on how many students are in the school. School students are entering the Leominster public school system all throughout the year.
Absolutely.
And so how can we make sure that we're understanding maybe like a fall semester snapshot and a spring semester snapshot with the funding? Because especially in our gateway cities and our more urban populations, people are moving from district to district, moving to communities. Housing is so insecure right now, folks. might have an apartment in Leominster
Right.
and then have to go to Fitchburg or Gardner because that housing is a little more affordable.
That's right.
Or moving into the community because they're able to find an apartment here.
Absolutely.
And how do we really have a system that reflects that, and a foundation budget that doesn't take 25
right.
years to revisit?
Absolutely. And we're supposed to be getting more students, displaced students from Puerto Rico as well in the school system. So that'll just be more, and we need more money to
Well, and I think that
help
this is
them.
another piece that I'm hoping that people realize is like, there's a long way for Puerto Rico to rebuild itself. It's still continuing to have blackouts. This is something that I don't think is covered in the news quite as much. And I've been able to talk to the
It really stopped.
talk to the congressman because he's gone on visits to Puerto Rico to really see the damage. Nettie Latimer from the Spanish American Center brought
Yep.
a lot of resources down herself and brought them around. But we are really lucky to be a community that's welcoming and that folks feel comfortable and have other family members, extended family, and are feeling welcomed
Absolutely.
into the community and into the school system. And I know, talking to
Absolutely.
all of the administrators, they've been really thrilled that these kids are working super hard, getting
Yeah.
really, really well, and going through some serious trauma, like
They're
losing
really
their
going
home.
through difficult times right now.
And coming to a place that they're not familiar with and thrown into a
Absolutely.
whole new school system. And I'm super excited at the policies that you guys are trying to put in place to make sure that they're graduating on time, that they're
Yes.
getting the resources that they need. And so I think these are parts of the school committee process that people don't realize, that
Right.
you're dealing with so many different populations of kids and a changing population with a lot of needs. Taylor and I went and took a tour of the Perkins
Yeah.
School over in Lancaster. We
Yeah.
have 40 students from the Leominster Public School
Yes.
System that are going
I
there.
saw that.
And their costs are quite high. So for
They're very
kids
high.
who need extra support because of their disability,
Right.
they have a right to that under the
Absolutely.
Massachusetts state law. And it's really costly, and the foundation budget just
It is.
never accounted for that, never accounted for the number of students who were going to have IEPs and
It
have
hasn't changed with
extra
the
needs.
times.
So hoping that we can continue to work to support the school system. We should be proud of the services we're providing. Schools like the
Absolutely.
Leominster Center for Excellence that provide an
Yes.
alternative, special education for students who want to do self-directed
So
learning.
many students are getting so much benefit from that school.
And staying in the community where maybe a
Right.
traditional high school wasn't the
They're
right
staying
fit.
in the community and they're graduating.
And so really excited to see how the school's growing. And then I'm a proud product of the general Leominster High School. My brother went to the trade
Right.
school, and I think that's the
Yeah.
other struggle that we're trying to figure out. How do
Yes.
we support our Center for Technical Education and Innovation when we have these regional trade
Yes,
schools that are
absolutely.
really pulling kids and choicing kids
And
out of the
offering
districts?
more than what we have too, like cosmetology and things of that nature for trades. Kids want to go there.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but
Yeah, and we've been working with the administration there to
Yes.
help them on their applications to bring on new
Yes.
programming and kind of manufacturing and television production and,
Right.
and media, because these are all new careers that the Center for Technical Education and Innovation can offer some really
Absolutely.
great things. And coming from two kids who went through theater,
Yes, we
like we
did.
have a lot of talent in our
we have
school
so
system.
much talent. One of my friends that I graduated with is at NYU right now for acting, and she loves it, and she'll do great. But we have so much talent in the arts as well as
Yeah.
athletics at the high school. So it's really special. It's really something to be proud of when you graduate from Leominster High.
Yeah, so for folks who are interested in getting to know Isabel a little bit more, school committee member
Yes.
Isabella Lera represents Ward 3, and her contact information is going to be on the screen, but you should absolutely chat with her and pick
I'd
her
love
brain and
to.
give her ideas.
Yes.
Because speaking from one local elected to another, we love hearing from constituents,
We
so
do.
please reach out and tell us what you're thinking. So we're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back with Kathleen Reynolds-Dagnall, our local Register of Deeds. So stay tuned. Welcome back. So now I'm joined with Kathleen Reynolds-Dagnall, our Worcester Northern District Register of Deeds.
Hello.
And Kathy, I think I'm going to ask a different question than I normally kick off with everyone, but could you explain what a Register of Deeds does? Because I don't think it's not the position that folks normally think of or probably come into contact with as often as other folks.
First of all, thank you for that question. The Registry of Deeds is the place that deeds are recorded, mortgages are recorded, land records are recorded. But it's a growing and changing place. With the advent of the internet and online records, we've become someplace that everybody can access. So it is, yes, where you keep your most precious land records. I always advocate and tell people they belong to you, the homeowners, the landowners. And I felt my job when I came on as register 12 years ago was to make sure that people knew that these land records were theirs, that they're accessible to them, and how to use our system and get educated and empowered with that. So I do a lot of outreach to people. But we are the office that maintains the land records for the Northern Worcester District.
And so an office that goes back with a lot of history, like this is one of the oldest offices because property records were everything.
Well, you know, it's interesting because the Register of Deeds position was written into the Massachusetts Constitution, a little piece of dry information. Although the Worcester Northern District was established in 1868, so we have land records and books going back to 1868 on site.
That's fascinating.
And so it's something that obviously this country was established on, land ownership and rights to land. So it's a very important, deep subject, in my opinion.
Yeah, and really important to make sure that it's accessible. So folks probably don't know this fun fact about me, but I actually used to be a real estate agent right out of college in the worst time that you could possibly have been one. So I graduated in college in 2009. So think about where the economy was.
Very bad.
So I got very familiar with like masslandrecords.com and the register's websites for Worcester County. And so I'm fascinated at like how much work it must have taken to kind of get all of these documents online and accessible so that anyone who's looking into maybe purchasing some land can do some research on their own and really bring down that cost. You're not relying on just this one person who does that full time. You can actually do some of your preliminary research yourself. That's exactly what's happening. It's funny because I also was a real estate agent before I was a lawyer by, you know, I passed the bar, but I had 3 small kids at the time. So I know what it's also like to be a real estate agent in the business, needing access to records. And people, there's so many people, I think we've tracked in the last couple of years, 20 million hits on our website. Wow. Which it used to be a very small group of people that handled the land records. It's wide open. So we have people calling us from North Carolina whose elderly mom lives here, who wants to help her out and get a jump on things and save a little bit of money. Eventually you need the lawyer. But there's some, just to understand what your records are and what your status is, we can help navigate them on our system. All of our old books are at the registry, but we also have everything online. So it was a huge, it's been a huge undertaking, sort of expanding the concept of the Registry of Deeds and knowing it is a public office. We are elected officials. It belongs to everybody. So that's an ongoing effort. Yeah. And so one of the other questions that we love to ask on the show is kind of like, what was your path to getting here? Like, I'm going to take a guess that you didn't grow up wanting to be Register of Deeds. Like, how did you end up here? You know, it's funny. I never thought about being Register of Deeds. Specifically until Jack McLaughlin, who was the register at the time, was retiring. And he gave me a call and he said, Fran and I have been talking, that's his wife, and I'm retiring and we're wondering if you might want to run for Register of Deeds. And I said, he said, I'd like you to come to lunch with me. So we sat and talked and we talked it over and I thought it would be great. I had been a lawyer, a civil lawyer for a number of years, and I had been a real estate agent. It's funny, when I had worked at Foster Healy, and he said to me, what are you doing here? Rick Healy said, what are you doing here? You're a lawyer. I said, well, I'm not ready to do that completely yet, but I love real estate. So I got involved with that. So it was sort of a natural progression to become Register of Deeds, but it wasn't something I thought about when I was 5, which is what I tell a lot of young people. Don't worry what you want to be, because you might not be at my age what you thought you'd be. And so for folks who are wanting to get in touch with the Register's office, how do they get in touch with you? You can call
the phone number. I gave your staff.
Yeah, so it's
and
going to be up on the screen.
You can call. You can go to fitchburgdeeds.com, which is the website for our land records. You can email me directly, which
It's going to also be up there.
the information. You can come in. We love to have people come in. We have probably 1,500 e-recording agreements where people are e-recording documents, but you have to be a lawyer or real estate professional to do so. So we have so many people coming in. We love to have them come in, and we help them with their land records, access things online. We can show them how to use our online system in the registry, and then they can go home and do it. So, you know, I'd say walk in. We love to have people come up.
Yeah. What are the most common issues that people are coming to you with?
When I got first elected, the foreclosure issues were huge.
Yeah.
And we like to be a resource to the Attorney General's office because there's so many foreclosure protection programs that they offer and help. So foreclosures is a big one. People want to know their deed. Are there liens on their deed?
Sure.
Is there any encumbrances they want to sell it? You know, homesteads are very, very important. With 2015, there was a new homestead law that gave more protections. So just, you know, somebody's interested in buying a piece of land and they want to know who owns it or how much the mortgage is. They can do all that themselves. It's pretty neat what people can do, and young people are coming in. You're a classmate of my daughter.
Yeah.
Very proud of your class, by the way. But young people your age are coming in, starting out, and they want to know how to buy a house and renovate it and sell it. And we are there to guide them and help them just learn the basics.
Yeah, that's great. And so is there anything, we're heading into the summer, the weather's finally getting better. Is there anything excited going on in the community that you're excited about coming up?
I'm very excited. We're going to be doing educational sessions with the senior centers.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we're going to be out doing that. I'm looking forward to marching in the 4th of July parade.
Always fun.
Always.
I did my first time marching last year. It was a blast. And I didn't realize that it really is a kind of Twin Cities thing, that there's so many Leominster folks over at the Fitchburg Parade.
It is. That's the one parade we all get together. And that's what's great about my district is we have Leominster, we have Fitchburg.
What else is in? There's 3 more.
Lunenburg, Ashburn, Hammond, Westminster.
Okay.
But my district really does weave everybody in, and I think that's so important that we have a community that I like to try to make sure I'm at events to know, get to know people, you know me, feel comfortable coming in the registry, because a lot of times people, I've never been in the registry, or I wouldn't know where to begin.
Well, and I think it's cool that I talk a lot about how Leominster's spoiled to get their own state rep, but I also think it's really great that we have our own Register of Deeds for this small section of North Central Mass, because we do have kind of different needs than other places. And there is that comfort in knowing that, okay, there's this agency that's looking out for just our 5 communities.
I think I agree with you, and I think it's so important that we, for example, we support some different legislation as a Registers of Deeds Association that make it easier for homeowners, and we can come to you and come to the state senators and say we need some help pushing a bill forward, making it easier. And I love the way everyone works together. It's really excellent.
Yeah, and it's a special place up here.
I agree.
So it's really cool to have a team of folks watching out for North Central Mass and lifting up those voices.
I agree.
So is there anything else in terms of folks wanting to be better advocates for themselves, have better access? Like, is there any other tips before we wrap up that you want to share?
I simply encourage people to come walk through the door, to cross that barrier, to come on in. Customer service and my staff are excellent. They're cross-trained and they're able to help people. And so I say, come on in, don't hesitate. If you have a question, we're there to help you. Don't be intimidated. So I simply welcome people to come on up.
Yeah, and I think it's great that there's also that kind of online presence. So for folks who want to get a little familiar and kind of get their feet wet, and then they can go in and meet the folks and ask those other questions. I think that's a great thing, a resource to have.
It's, your home is oftentimes people's most valuable investment.
Absolutely.
They want to preserve it for themselves. They want to preserve it for their families. And some people don't really even know where their deed is. They want a copy of their deed. So you can come on in and get one. You can go online as well. But it should be a place that people feel their records and their greatest assets are being protected and advocated for and available to them because they belong to the people.
Well, and I think coming from a generation where it's becoming harder and harder to be homeowners, I'm very proud to be a homeowner. I know I'm in a very lucky position to be building equity and building some security in my future. But how do we make sure that folks continue to have access to that American dream?
Well, that's one thing that I also hope to work with schools. And Leominster High School, for example, maybe we could do a partnership just to let people know, young people, what home ownership means, what paying a mortgage means, what it means to invest in something, just so that they can get an idea. A lot of people, the foreclosure crisis came about because they're these big banks and took advantage.
Absolutely.
They took advantage of people. And so the education piece to empower them about that's very important to me. So I think it continues to, the education on home ownership makes for a good community, or rental. There's renters' rights and tenants' rights. It's very important to people. A roof over your head is a place to call home. It's very important.
Well, Kathy, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving a little insight into how the Register of Deeds works. And if you have questions for Kathy, her contact information is going to be up on the screen. And thank you so much for tuning in, and looking forward to seeing you next month on our next episode of Representing Leominster. Have a great rest of your May.